Welcome to another episode of Rectec Reels. I'm Henna McWarner, Commercial Success Manager from here at Rectec. And joining me today is Jack from Factorial, and we're going to be talking about the importance of managing performance within an organization. So, Jack, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, lovely to be here with you, Henna. So I'm Jack from Factorial. I was on the direct sales, so I was on the SMB segment. I then worked my way up towards the enterprise segment of Factorial, moving across the partnerships with a few things that have been going on with the Microsoft partnerships, the SAP stuff, and then a byproduct of that being the HR consultancies and the accountancy firms that we work with. So yeah, super excited to be here. It's a great team over at Rectec. So yeah.
So, safe to say you're a bit of a pro, to say the least, when it comes to all things HRIS and HR tech altogether. So today we're obviously talking about performance. So I'm keen to get an understanding of when you're actually speaking to your customers about performance, what are some of the typical issues that they're actually looking to solve?
I think that's a good point. If we're taking that back down to the very first point, then that's kind of a branch that comes off the why of why we're actually getting into this in the first point. So what are we trying to achieve with the performance review, and what outcomes do we want from that? Typically, we see that in the two strains. So we see it either on the revenue side of things, are we wanting to increase that revenue? Is there anything on maybe the actual financial performance side of the firm relevant to the individuals, or is it on a retention side of things? We talk a lot in Factorial about the regrettable. So let's say high performers who are leaving voluntarily. So first things first, I think you need to define what you're actually getting into this for and what the purpose is. Again, hopefully if you're using a tech firm of some sort to do any of this, then there should be some level of account management and support there to help you out with that as well and give a few ideas. I think another strand that then comes off that once we've got that underpinning is going to be the standardization and the validity of the results. If I'm delegating this, for example, let's say I'm a larger SME company, how am I going to get it so that I know those results are reliable, standardized whenever I'm delegating that towards that individual management? I think a lot of that falls on the rules, the definitions, the procedures that we put in place when we're first delegating any of this, and having that put into a bit more of a formalized structure there too. I suppose the final thing in terms of an actual issue that they're looking to solve would be something like if we're linking this in towards a career development plan, or if there's anything built in here towards maybe a performance outcome and a PIP. So that would be another one. Maybe talking to the client about what they're actually wanting to solve there and how they want that to have an effect on the future as well.
Amazing. Okay, great. Thank you. So with that in mind, then, obviously, like we said, you're a pro when it comes to HRIS. It's literally what you're talking about day in, day out. So with that in mind, how can an HRIS combat some of those issues?
Yeah, so I mean, first things first, most HRSs that are worth their salt should have some level of performance feature inbuilt. Typically, that'll fall on the two strands. So it'll be the performance appraisals or the performance reviews and the goals or the OKRs as well inbuilt. With the performance and reviews, I'd always recommend trying to find a tool that's got some sort of 180 or ideally 360 review capabilities. That way, you know that you have all those bases covered. So when we talked about that issue of the validity, the reliability of those results, we're looking at something from every angle so that we've got all corners based there. And then we can always make it so that it's anonymous, for example, on the peer reviews, so that we're not rocking the boat, for example, or things like that. So those are the two key areas that you should be looking for. If we're then stretching that out and maybe having a bit more of a comprehensive tool, something that Factorial tries to do is build in the competencies and the skills matrices a lot into this. So having a bank maybe of the skills that an employee could have, defining them, and then trying to link it to other parts of the platform. The great thing about this is that you can link competencies to things like your job descriptions, your different levels of seniority, so that you can start to build out like a development plan, for example, link it through to the ATS so that you can look at contingency plans and do costings for things like that, as well as salary reviews. So that's something that I'd always recommend as well, seeing how broad that tool is and the features that they offer. If we're really zoning in onto the issue as well, it might even be worth having a little look at the performance specific tools on the market. Lattice is a really cool one. If ever someone's going off of a HRIS and they're looking into a performance specific, something like a Lattice is probably a good starting point. Or if you're looking at HRISs as well, maybe look at a tool like that that's performance specific before you start your HRIS search, just because that gives you a good grounding on how comparable that is to a specific tool as well.
Amazing. Okay, great. So for any of those HR professionals that are watching right now thinking, gosh, this is something that's been on my to-do list for a really long time, and I really need to get a wriggle on with this, what advice would you give to those HR professionals looking to actually enhance the way that they're managing performance?
Yeah, again, I'd always bring it back towards the why. So whenever you start in any of those performance reviews, starting any of the performance plans that you're putting in or any of the campaigns, think about why we're actually doing it and bring it back towards the outcome. Quite often I find, especially when we're talking with smaller companies, if you ask them, for example, if we're showing them the performance appraisals piece, we're like, so why are you doing this? What are you trying to get out of this piece? Sometimes people don't really know why they're doing it, and they're just doing it because they've always done it.
Mm.
Think about that. Think about those two strains. Is it a revenue outcome? Is it linked towards maybe output of that employee, efficiency of that employee, linked towards overall firm performance, or is it a retention element? Is it linked towards things like keeping that employee long term, making that employee happy, creating a development plan so that they can grow within the company and have that sense of belonging within that? So think of which of those two strains that it actually fits within. I think that's always a really good starting point to start from. And then anything there on after, as long as you've defined what we're actually doing that for, is more so just a bit of collaboration of how we're setting up those different performance cycles.
Amazing. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with when implementing any new tech or trying to adopt a new process, whatever it might be, you really need to look at why you're doing it. And if the answer is because we have to, that's probably not going to give you much direction in terms of working out what you need, which is the next step. Work out what you need, work out why you need it, and then kind of you'll get a better idea. So thanks so much, Jack. If you're watching this and you are in the market for a new HRIS, ATS, or CRM, do take advantage of our unique fee-free comparison tool, Rectec Compare. Or if you're looking to build out your tech stack with complementary tech, then check out our marketplace at rectech.io. But Jack, thank you so much for joining me today and delving into the world of performance. And yeah, look forward to catching up.
See you, Hannah. Thanks as always.